Hi everyone, I'm Mike Abadi and welcome to VTblogosphereTV. It's episode number 24. It is May 25th and it is like 90-something degrees outside. It is something else. Summer's in the air, which means, you know, election season isn't far behind, right?
It's amazing.
And we're really lucky to have Susan Bartlett here to chat for about half an hour. And Susan is a state senator from, she's representing Lamoille County,
right.
Lives in Hyde Park, and has been doing so since 1992.
Correct.
And when first elected was the first Democrat and first woman to represent Lamoille County in the state Senate. So congrats for breaking those barriers. It's hard to believe in what is now such a blue state that is true, but it wasn't long ago.
That's right.
That we were very much a Republican stronghold. So you're interested in kind of expanding your resume, I guess I should say, and being our next governor.
I am. I'm definitely interested in being the next governor.
And primary day is
August 24th.
It has moved. One of the things the legislature did, it's
right.
earlier.
Right. And we moved it so there's enough time for ballots to get to our troops overseas and get back in time.
Right. So that is a very great reason, and it makes it very difficult for a governor to say veto that. And I guess Governor Douglas made some noise about how it was a playing politics thing, but the factual, I guess the feds needed to see that we were making the time for those ballots to get counted.
They were asking states to change, and that ends up, I think, in Vermont with for primaries, it's actually a very late primary. You know, you look at the national news, and most of the states are having their primaries now.
Right, Kentucky just had it.
I think Vermont probably had late primaries because we hardly ever used to have primaries. So, so now we end up with a primary at the end of the summer,
right.
But I'm sure it'll all work out.
Right, and this, on the Democratic side, this is not a sleepy primary. This is a very exciting primary with 5 really strong candidates.
This is very exciting, and what's really encouraging, it's interesting, you were talking about this is your 24th show, and I think the other day we were counting and we have already done 24 forums.
Oh, wow.
And that's amazing to do 24 forums, period, but for the end of May to have done that many forums. And when we do them, a lot of people show up. People are clearly very interested in meeting all of us, and one of their concerns is that in a 5-way primary, how do they choose? And that's difficult. And I tell folks that I see this as a job interview. And I think one would much rather have a lot of really great people apply for a job and have to struggle at coming to a conclusion as to who you want to hire than to say, oh, gee whiz, should we run ads for that job again? Plus, I am quite certain and tell everyone that the day after the primary, 4 of the 5 of us are going to be going, oh, shucks. But I also know on that same day, the 5 of us will stand together and with all the folks that we have working for us in the state, and we're going to say, we are going to beat Brian Doobie.
Right.
We are going to have a Democratic governor. So I think it's a terrific opportunity for Democrats.
Yeah, you can tell how the campaign's being conducted, that this bad blood in the future is really unforeseeable, that the unity the next day is pretty much a lock.
Yep, I don't think any of us have any hesitancy to support whoever wins.
Which is great. I don't know if we'll call it a leg up because that's comparative, but as the chair of the Appropriations Committee in the state Senate, any bill that has revenue attached to it has to move through you. So you got a it's a powerful position and a unique perspective on any legislative session. So do you want to talk a little bit about that job and how it's been in these tough times?
Well, as I say, one of the reasons I decided to run for governor is that appropriations is the only place other than the governor's office where your job is to understand all of state government and how it works and how it fits together, and just as importantly, how it doesn't work and how it doesn't fit together. So I decided with the 10 years as chair of appropriations and the 16 years on the appropriations committee that I was ready to be governor. I'm interested in being the person that constructs the budget from the beginning and pulls folks together to find solutions, and you end up as chair of appropriations also having to learn to say no to a lot of good ideas, and you have to convince your committee to say no to things, and that's not easy. As we have been in this difficult economy for a number of years, budgets get more and more difficult to craft. And of course, when we're in difficult financial times, that's when folks need more state services. Right. And we are really very fortunate that the federal government came through for the states and sent us money, which we have used to help construct budgets to get us through these difficult times. It's budgets mostly tend to put people to sleep when we talk about them, but I think the easiest way for folks to understand where the economy of Vermont is that when we get through into 2012, the revenues coming into the state are going to be at about the same level that they were in 2005. So obviously the base dollars that we have to spend are significantly less than we had a few years ago.
Okay, okay. So we've done this and we expect to be somewhere around 05 by 2012.
By 2012. And that actually puts Vermont in a lot better shape than a lot of other states. Sure. We have certainly things have been very difficult. They are still very difficult in this state, but compared to even some of the neighboring New England states, and certainly states like Arizona and California and New York, we are in much better financial shape.
Right.
So.
A lot of those states, I think most states have a balanced budget amendment in their constitution, but they don't have a balanced budget. Vermont doesn't have the amendment, but we tend to have.
We've always had a balanced budget. That's right.
So you can put it on paper, but we actually deliver.
We actually do it.
Now we were talking earlier about going to all these forums and meeting actual, real, live voters. There's also a campaign that happens in the virtual world on the internet, and. Right. Just wondering how your campaign is conceiving of that world and how you're using it.
We're having a great time, and I will confess to not be a person gifted in technology. But fortunately, I have people around me that are. And what's turning out to be a real benefit to, I think, voters is that almost all of these forums are recorded, and they end up within about 24 hours online. Right. So if people are interested in what we think about mental health, there's a forum on mental health that's going to, have a lot of in-depth answers.
It's easy to find on YouTube,
so it's really easy to have access to the information and what we're really saying, not the sound bites that we might put out in something or the sound bites that the press might pick up.
Right.
But to see what really what kind of conversations we're having. And I decided early that my approach with my web page was going to be to take the time to deal with issues in depth. And I believe that Vermonters are ready for someone that's prepared to put significant ideas and plans and visions and hopes and ideas out on the table and say, here's what I would do with education. Here's how I would create jobs. Here's how I would change the Agency of Natural Resources. Here's how I'd clean up Lake Champlain. Because everybody knows that we're at a real tipping point in this state, and I believe in this country. And what we do in the next few years is going to have a really profound impact on what Vermont looks like for the next couple of generations.
Okay, how would you define that that tipping point? Are you environmentally, or what do you think of budgetarily, the economics of it? Or?
I really think it's everything. Vermont really is a different state, and I think one of the things that is so special about Vermont that it's our values. And that we all, for many, many years, have been willing to not only say we care about communities, not say we care about education, we care about old people, we care about health care, we care about the environment, but we actually pay the taxes and structure the government to deliver those
so that we
services
can.
to folks.
Right, right.
And the other thing that I love about Vermont is that we have no idea that there are only 600,000 of us. We may be a tiny state, but our heart and our visions are so large, and we are so determined that we can do things that we succeed.